if you're in this business, now's the time to serve. Now's the time to change the lives, because for whatever we've been doing in the US, and even in other countries abroad, it hasn't worked, right? Like chronic disease is at an all-time high. So rethink your approach. But the world needs you. So wake up and get to work.
Good afternoon. This is Eric LeClaire over at PushPress Within the Trenches. Welcome to episode 50. As you saw last episode, we've had a chance to dig in to not only a good friend and a good coach, but somebody actually here at PushPress that has grown up through the ranks, not only in athletics, but in the United States Navy, and has also been a pivotal powerhouse in our sport of CrossFit and for the CrossFit affiliates. And I wanted to continue with that. And for episode 50, for the first time, do a duo interview with two good friends, not only folks here from our PushPress community, but individuals that, at least from my mind, they run the triad of leadership at home, in their business, as well as on behalf of other gym owners here at the helm of PushPress. So without further ado, gentlemen, Nick, TJ, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to come out for this special episode. I was going to say happy anniversary. We've been on the air doing In the Trenches 1 year, and you guys have marked our anniversary episode for episode 50. So thank you guys for coming on board today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited.
So because at PushPress, we've had a chance to work with so many front-end gym owners, I've heard hundreds of times over from gym owners, man, Nick has helped me out with this, and TJ's helped me out with this, and that guy Nick, and that guy TJ. Not a lot of folks, though, know your stories personally outside of PushPress unless they're in Kansas or they're part of your gym. So let's take it back maybe a little bit before, and let's give our audience today a little bit of an intro of where you guys came from. We know there's some athletic achievements. We know there's some military achievements in there, but let's go ahead and start. Nick, if you want to start where you feel comfortable, let's dig in.
Yeah. So again, my name is Nick Reyes. I actually have probably a lengthier background in technology sales. Was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. After I got out of the Marine Corps, kind of found myself looking for something to do. Went to go work for Sprint, who's now merged with T-Mobile, but literally just trying to make a buck while my now wife and I, we were just dating at the time, moved to Phoenix, moved back to Kansas City after she finished grad school, and went to go work for a Sprint partner. From there, got laid off right after we bought our first home, and the week of Christmas, which was a great slap in the face, right? So this is around like the 2008 financial crisis when people couldn't get jobs. And then got a call to go and work for a guy that I had known for a while, worked for Caterpillar, and spent the next several years really grinding and kind of climbing the ranks at Caterpillar, so to say, before I left that company and came to work for PushPress. And I'll let TJ maybe explain how him and I met and how I got involved with the gym. But that's a little bit of my background in the ascension into technology sales over the years. It started literally with cell phones, and have gone to every single technology product, to commercial retail or commercial railroad, all the way to what we do now at PushPress, which is software.
Wild. Big extremes.
Always tech.
Yeah, right on. TJ, welcome. I'm glad you're here, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I do not have a tech background. I actually got into the fitness space about 11 years ago. I won't try to talk your ear off, but I was actually doing some steel work. I was working for an iron company. Long story short, I was out in South Carolina, got the phone call that my brother had passed away from a drug overdose. And so obviously I moved back home to be closer to family. Was in a pretty bad depression. I wasn't doing too hot. But my mom happened to stumble upon this gym. The Jewish Community Center is what it's called here in Kansas City. And happened to stumble on a new CrossFit program that they were trying to operate. And me being super down, my mom thought it would be something for, really good for me to try out. She knows how competitive I am. And so I decided to listen to my mama. So I went and tried the class. This is probably pretty cliche, but the first workout was Fran. I think I had, 55 pounds on the bar and about, 6 green bands to help my ass up on a pull-up bar. But, I was kind of apprehensive about it. I didn't know if I loved it yet. And so I was like, I'm gonna give this another try. And so I came back the next day, and it was some sort of fight gone bad type workout. It was Tabata, and I just absolutely fell in love, and continued just to show up, and kept showing up, and it got to the point where I started, shadowing the guy there at the time that was running the program, and when it came to the time where I needed to actually pay for the program, he ended up giving me a job on the fitness floor staff, and so that was kind of my introduction into the fitness world. And so I started helping out, and I actually began my CrossFit coaching a kids program there, and did that for a while. They pumped a bunch of money into a boxing studio that they built out there, and that kind of rubbed us wrong. And so we were like, hey, maybe we can do this better on our own. And so we forked up about 10 grand. We're lucky enough to get a spot in a Pilates studio. Let's just say Pilates and CrossFit don't mix at all.
Weird.
Yeah. And so we started with about 10 foot of rig. We had about 10 kettlebells and about 300 pounds of bumpers. But I want to say about 10 days before we were about to open, I get this message from this handsome young man in his marine outfit or uniform. And I was like, man, this guy wants to try it. I was like, he's a military guy. This is going to be perfect for him. And it happened to be Nick. And so that was my first introduction to Nick. And we have some family ties that go pretty deep, but I'd never met Nick. And Nick was actually one of my first members. So
Wow.
That's how Nick and I came to meet each other about 10 years ago.
Man. And so, Nick, did you obviously get introduction to CrossFit elsewhere, or was this your first introduction with TJ?
Yeah, this is my first introduction was with TJ. I had heard of it. I had seen a couple workouts. It was just, I was in a Snap Fitness, just doing my own thing, actually in a lot of pain at the time, a lot of physical pain. And so my wife, and like TJ kind of alluded to, we've got some family ties. And so my wife said, Jeff's little brother is opening a CrossFit gym, and I think it'd be something that you would love. You should go try it out. And so I was like on Facebook, right? And I found it and Facebook messaged them, and so it was like one of the first members, which was awesome.
Did you know, let's say within that first year, that you were going to love it so much that you would step into an ownership or a leadership role there?
I would say I could see fairly early on that the business had potential, and that I could bring something to it. And I would say it was fairly early on when I thought, you know what, like I could do a lot with what these guys are building. And it was just one of those, like, if there's ends up being a place for me, cool. And if not, I'll enjoy it either way. Right. So it wasn't until, what was it, TJ? Was it a year and a half, something like that?
No, it was about, I want to say about 9-10 months in. So
okay.
It's actually fairly early on.
Yep.
And TJ, were you guys looking to grow that way, that fast, or was it just like right place, right time? Nick was the right person.
So this is kind of how I would say this is the best way of wording this. So like I knew my why, right? Something that had got me at such depression, like the CrossFit, it essentially saved my life, man. I was battling drug addiction. I was bad. And so, I found my why. I'm like, man, if this thing can save me, from smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, doing cocaine on the weekends, if anything could save me, like I need to give this to the community. Like this saved my life. But I didn't have that business approach. Like I tend to think like I'm the heart of the gym, Nick's the brain. Like Nick has this business mind. He has, a way of looking at things. He walks into the gym and like, this is how we can do this better. Where I was like the personality, and I love, meeting the people and bringing the energy. So to me, it was like, we wanted to bring Nick on because we needed that business approach that we didn't have. And so it was easy when we brought Nick on, because Nick brought, the numbers and the tangible stuff that just kind of go over my head. So it was just it was a good combo. So
Nick, what year was that? If for the audience to kind of think back through kind of the CrossFit growth curve, were you coming on board bringing your knowledge from like big tech, big business into the micro gym world, or had you had your eye on what was going on? What was that, like 2010 maybe?
2012, TJ?
Yeah, 12 going into 13.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of bringing just my knowledge of I worked for Sprint, but then the partner that I worked for, they were publicly traded, but it was a 50 employee company that had crashed and burned and spent all their, original IPO money, terrible management. And so it was just lessons learned from these ups and downs in the corporate world, where I had finally ascended to a place that was that left me in a pretty good position, I would say. And so it was just taking that kind of grit over the years of being laid off and thrive, and then going back to actually thriving, and trying to bring those little tidbits, those little tricks you learn along the way to a business that I thought could use them.
Right on. No, that's an important facet. I think that a lot of folks, to TJ's point, wouldn't recognize in themselves their strengths and weaknesses. They would just simply say, I've got it. I'm good. Let ego thrive. I don't need help. I can do the front end. I can do the back end. I can do it all. Man, I'm glad you were able to open up about that, TJ, because a lot of gym owners don't recognize that they need help. And at least you were like, I need some help, and I see it in Nick. Let me go ahead and pull him in. What were some of those first steps that you did? If you could maybe think back to top 2, top 3 things that you were like, we've got to put this in place first. This is what we've got to do to establish some traction. Can you think back to those early days and kind of what came first?
Yeah. I always like to tell the story when TJ and his former partner's name was Brady. When we sat down, Brady handed me a spiral notebook with the with who owed dues and when they were coming up, and I could flip through the months, right? And I was like, okay, first thing we're going to do is actually get an accounting system in place, and then that took me down the rabbit hole of just all the math of how many members can fit in a place, what does the total revenue look like based upon peak volumes, based upon peak class times. I remember going down that late at night in an Excel sheet and just like realizing like, hey, this all these discounts that have been given out, all these things, we're gonna top out at like 12 grand a month in revenue, and that's not going to be enough to give these guys any type of lifestyle. And so it was really just, okay, so now what? Now that you know the problem, let's start looking at solutions. And so early on, TJ, I don't know if you remember this, but we had this average client value that I manually calculated on a Google sheet, and it was like, hey guys, this is $92. Like the mission is, let's keep inching this up. So we really didn't look at a lot of bottom line stuff. We just looked at like, keep getting that number up, keep getting that number up. It was our big focus for seemingly like an entire year, it felt like.
Right on. Did you have a strategy outside of the group model to increase that? What were you running? What did it look like back then? Was it group exercise only, or were there other facets?
Group only. Group only. The strategy was quit giving discounts.
Yeah.
Check, right? Try to get some of the people who are on discounts full pricing, right? We started dabbling in some supplement and apparel sales, but there was just an issue. The facility was pretty small. What did we have, TJ? Like 1,500 square feet, something like that.
Yeah, it was about 1,500 square feet, and that kind of goes back to we didn't have a business background or a sales background, and so like those discounts is like, we just wanted to get people in there, and so Nick came in there and kind of shut the door on that.
Right. Well, I mean, hindsight's 2020. I mean, you look back to those days, and even if you look back even further than that, I would say 90% of the owners, myself included, were like meandering through the hallway with the flashlight, trying to figure their way through this process. And it, you know, folks like Nick would walk in and say, A, B, and C, let's go. And come to find out that that worked, you know, and some other gym owners, they were trying things that failed and they were out of business within 2 more years or 3 more years. You ended up moving, obviously, right? You've moved locations twice or once?
Like 6 times. We were like it was like a ping pong match. We were going just back and forth across the street, weren't we, Nick?
Okay. So what gave you the confidence? Were you forced to move? What gave you the confidence to move? Or was it just like, again, right place, right time?
We had to move. You know, Nick talked about that kind of that operational capacity. We couldn't fit any more people in this place. And so it was a good thing, but yeah, we had to find a facility that would allow us to grow organically with, you know, we needed more room. And so we were lucky enough to find something across the street, similar price point as far as overhead goes, and allowed us to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I might add, we didn't add, just so anyone who's listening doesn't misconstrue this. We didn't go from like having, you know, 4,000 square feet and 2 bathrooms to having like 15,000 square feet. We went from literally like 1,500 and a 1-holer like type of bathroom where the guys and the females, like they shared, and like the females complained because they're going after a guy, right? Like, so we went bigger, but we didn't go overwhelmingly big. And it's the facility that we're still in today. So it gave us plenty of breathing room. It was an upgrade that was needed, not an upgrade that was done out of vanity to say that we have this gargantuous facility type of thing.
Right. Makes sense. For those individuals that are listening that have struggled with the duality of ownership, can we dig into your relationship with each other? Is there a third right now, or is it just the 2 of you?
Just the 2 of us, and then some, as far as ownership within the actual business itself, we have some smaller shares given out to certain individuals.
Okay. So to the 2 of you then, how do the 2 of you manage each other's role and your relationship together? And I ask that both sensitively and professionally, because we know that oftentimes business partnerships fail and dumpster fire fail. How do you guys help each other? How do you work well?
I think we really understand each other's strengths, and we allow each other to showcase our strengths. You know, I talked about it earlier. Nick's just got that business mindset, and so, you know, I really value everything Nick has to say. You know, I truly believe when he believes in something, then I believe in him. And, you know, and I think Nick could probably say the same as me when I have an idea or I'm thinking something through. I think Nick really understands my viewpoint. For the non-Kansas City listeners, we're like Mahomes and Travis Kelce. We just have an unbelievable connection, and we work really well. It's like we know each other. We just know what each other are thinking, and oftentimes we'll text each other at the same time, and it's the same idea, and it's just we just have a lot of strengths. And I think we have the ability to listen to each other's feedback, whether it's constructive or positive, and not take it to heart, but we take it to a positive direction and always work towards, we call it leveling up. We try to level up everything that we do. And he knows that I'm constantly trying to push him to level up. And I know he's always got my back trying to push me to level up. So there's just a good understanding between us too.
I dig it. I totally dig it.
I'd add that we don't have a lot of ego when it comes to giving each other feedback. And I think that's probably been one of the greatest strengths from a relationship standpoint between TJ and I, is if he tells me that like my idea is not going to work and here are the reasons, like, cool. All right. It was a dumb idea. And I've made mistakes, and he's like, man, you ordered all those shakers and nobody bought a single one of them, right? Like, like
I got 15 in the back.
But it's exactly that thing, right? It's like, don't take criticism too harshly, and I think we both understand that we're in it for the right reasons, and that takes us a long ways.
Right on. Awesome. Well, for those in the audience that are listening today or watching today that may not know, what PushPress is and the fact that both of you do work inside of PushPress. So you're owners inside of your own gym. You're leading, and obviously now leading from home, your families. There's a third caveat here to who both of you are and the continued service. Like, so you're not only helping to better your local community, working with your clients, or whether you're working with, teams or athletes or, our regular clientele, you're also helping service a software company, our software company that we present this platform on, that leverages out to thousands of gyms and helps them improve. Who got in first? I know who got in first, but maybe you want to tell that story.
Yeah, so my job at Caterpillar took me through, I was pretty much traveling for 2 weeks out of the month. And TJ, like, I would be gone, I would come back, it'd be like hugs to everyone in the gym, like, oh, he's back for 2 weeks, and then I'd be gone again, right? And I vented to him over the years of like, I can't do this forever. I'm not going to do this forever. I'd like to be aligned with something in the fitness space. Not sure what that looks like. Don't really know that I want to keep working for a Fortune 50 company. Kind of want to work for a small startup at some point, someone that actually appreciates what you can bring to the table, rather than has the culture of like, hey, thanks for the big sale. Where's the next one? Thanks for the big sale. Where's the next one? Right. So my wife and I had started making financial plans for me to leave Caterpillar and take a risk on a startup. And I was down at Oki CrossFit, doing I was with TJ, actually. We were going to get our USAW certs down there at the time. And Jake Crandall, we were all at Chipotle eating lunch. Jake Crandall, who's now on the PushPress team, said, TJ, Nick, you guys got to stop using MindBody. Like, you're paying an arm and a leg for it. I know you are. There's this new company called PushPress.
Yep.
And so I think TJ and I did a demo of like another system. I won't throw other names out there. Did a demo of another system and ended up deciding on PushPress. Yep. And so fast forward, I'm miserable I don't want to say miserable at Caterpillar. I'm unhappy at Caterpillar. And Dan Wymura, the CEO of PushPress, puts out a Facebook post at like midnight, and he's like looking for some sales help.
Normal Dan.
Completely normal Dan. Looking for some sales help for both advice on PushPress and with the actual PushPress application itself. I was in a taxi in Guadalajara, Mexico, missing the family, and I was like, yeah, what do you need? And it was, we chatted for a little bit on my way to the hotel. Next day on my flight home, landed in Dallas to for international, go through customs, and then jumped on a call with Chris, Dan, and Brian, the three founders then. And they couldn't afford me at the time. So it was a whole nother year after that where I had just kept in contact, kind of saying, hey, you should probably do this. You should probably look at this. And then they finally got to the point where they're like, hey, I think we can finally make this work.
Awesome.
And so I left it. I took about a 75-ish% pay cut. Had virtually no money. TJ's like, yeah, the gym can't really afford you either, but here's a little bit of money. And I was like, yeah, a little bit here, a little bit here. Hey, babe, we can make this happen. And Cam, my beautiful wife, was like, do it. This is what we work for. Go do it. That's the long story.
I know. I love it. I love it. It places some context on, I mean, like I said, when we first introed you, so many times I'm on the phone with gym owners or we're chatting through Facebook and they're like, yep, Nick. And I'm like, so what do you know about Nick? And they're like, well, I know him from PushPress and he's answered all my emails and he's so just excellent. And I'm like, there's a little bit more, do you know? Like, it's great. Like, great to kind of picture of the how and the when and the where you got into this space. I mean, the fact that you both care so much pours out of every level of communication you have, whether it's a digital communication, whether it's, on the phone, on Zoom, even just simple text messaging through like Slack, all of it. I don't think anyone anywhere will simply say that you guys don't care to help improve in PushPress gym owners' lives. TJ, when did you know, like, hey, there's a place for me. I think I'm interested in helping out.
Yeah. So Nick talked to me a little bit about it. They could afford me. I came pretty cheap. But when Nick gave me, when we started, talking about the idea of me jumping on the push press team, just put in context, like get me in front of a classroom, like get me in front of a class that I'm about to coach, I'm on. Like it is just, it's magic, right? You get me on a phone, yeah. You get me on a phone call, or you get me in like an elevator talk, and I'm like a stone wall. I hate talking. I hate talking on the phone. There goes my dogs. You get me like on that, I hate that. So I was like, what a great opportunity to work on some self-improvement, right? And so it gave me the opportunity to work on some things that I'm not very good at, and it aligned with my why, right? It gave me the opportunity to not only help my community with my struggles, but now I can leverage this on such a different demographic where I can help all of Jim's communities. And so to me, it was just like paying it forward, and it was just a absolutely perfect fit. So got a lot better at talking clearly, but
no, it works. It totally works. I dig it. I mean, you can tell that we wouldn't have the customer service or the customer success scores that the company has earned and deserved if you guys weren't front facing and doing connecting. We like to say on our side, as genuinely and authentically as possible. It's not just brushing off the client for the sake of like, oh God, another call or another demo. Like there's genuine care behind it, and it echoes. You guys get it back all the time. Nick, if I could go back and ask you one question, and TJ, I'll ask you here in a second, from a lessons learned standpoint, going back to those first days in the gym, can you look back and think to yourself like, woulda, shoulda, coulda, I missed something, big blunder, big mess up? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so there was probably some stuff around, and I'm trying to think of the things that are outliers, right? Like every gym owner buys the pieces of equipment that they don't need and waste money on that type of stuff. I would say that early on, like a lot of the mistakes that we made were things that maybe I saw but didn't care to correct, because of the fact that I felt as if it was really TJ and Brady's baby, and they were going to race it how they saw fit. And my job was not to steer it down a path that I wanted it to go, but more so be like the bumpers in your bowling lanes when you take your kid bowling. It's like, just don't end up in the gutter, right? Yep. Like you may zigzag all the way there instead of taking the direct path. Just don't let them end up in the gutter, right? So I do have some regrets on like some of these little things that I wished I would have maybe pushed the issue on a little bit early on, but most of the part, I mean, like it made it to where it is today, which is a pretty successful gym in my opinion. So most of it has to do around lack of foresight with some of the partnership things that we ended up running into, and that's kind of where it all sits with me.
Right. Okay. TJ, same thing. Lessons learned. If you go back to the beginning and kind of think through that ownership position, you as an owner, obviously you've changed, you've matured, you've improved systems and processes, you've grown as a man and obviously as a leader in the community. Looking back to the beginning, any thoughts, any reflections back on, I wish I did something a different way?
Yeah. I would say looking at the gym as an actual business is something that I didn't do. I probably cared more about my athletic career early on. One of my goals was to get to regionals. That was, a big deal of mine, and the business suffered. And so to me, I look back and I'm like, man, I wasted a lot of good years I could have had and really have had this thing at a different level than I do right now. And sometimes I look back and I'm kind of upset that I was that way, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for where we are now. And I'm not someone that really is going to think about the past too much, because we got a great future ahead. So
what did you say the other day, Nick? Pushed by your past or pulled by your future, right?
Yep, absolutely. And everyone's got a little bit of that. So to, even that piece, I would say like we have grace with it, because there are decisions and things that we make today in the business that we may be making these decisions today differently had we not made these other mistakes in the past, right?
Right.
So
Totally makes sense. Well, I find it impressive that you guys are both running operations of the gym, and then also I see the behind the scenes personally. I see the behind the scenes effort that you guys put in on the push press side, helping other gym owners, whether it's efficiencies, whether it's optimizations, whether it's small steps that they can make to improve. What's exciting for each of you on the horizon? First, for your gym, let's say, because we see, well, maybe we don't see it in California, but maybe we see it for other states, openings up and things loosening. I'll ask a two-part question. What do you see exciting in the future for your gym, and then what are you guys most excited for that you're currently involved in for Push Press? TJ, let's start at the gym.
Yeah, I think as a team, we're really excited about just optimizing different programs. Obviously CrossFit does really well at our gym. We have another program that's just absolutely killing it. And then we have a big initiative with nutrition. And I think, anytime when you're able to pull in more of your community, whether it's on the fitness side or on the nutrition side, our big initiative, and it always will be our big initiative, is to help as many people in our community live a healthier lifestyle. So that always gets me excited to wake up in the morning when I can help our community.
Okay. And what about for Push Press? Excited for the future about Push Press?
Oh man, Push Press gets me super pumped. Just the things on the roadmap. We do such a good job, not only helping our clients. We walk next to them, right? We're in the trenches with them. And so I'm just so excited about all the systems and things that we're putting in place on the roadmap to continue to drive them forward and help them dominate in their community. And how could you not be excited about that? To help so many different communities, and I get excited to go to bed just so I can wake up and do more. So I love it.
Well, there might be a little bit less sleep coming your way in the future, since you've got a little one coming.
Yeah, and I've been leaning on Nick a lot. Nick and I have a lot of fatherhood talks, and I lost my father when I was 4, and so it's really good to have Nick around. He's a good man, and he talks to me a lot about the importance of being a good father and being there for his kids. And I've seen Nick do it so well, and I just can't wait to be there right next to him with my kids. And yeah, there's a lot of cool things going on in our lives, and I love it. Can't wait.
I love it. Nick, at the gym, man, what are you happy about? What are you excited about?
I'm happy about a lot of things at the gym. I think there's been this vision for a long time on like what peak optimization could bring to that place. And peak optimization, TJ kind of alluded, we have another program led by a gentleman named Michael Yabbitt, who we got from Title Boxing. And that program, you hear a lot of CrossFit affiliate owners talk about having a so-called boot camp in their gym. And a lot of times it doesn't really do so well. For the last, 18 months, TJ, roughly 18 months, Michael's been running this program, and it's different. And it's good, but meshing communities is a very, very substantial challenge. And I would imagine that that's why most of the times it doesn't work out to try to do that, right? But we've really seen it gel last 6, 9, 12 months. It's just kind of been this slow process. And we're seeing one of our partners, Anthony Kaler, runs nutrition, and that he's really starting to optimize his own program, his nutrition program as well. He's a hell of a head coach, hell of a programmer. So we're starting to see that gel. So it's like starting to see these things that started off as ideas forever ago really mature and really complement one another. And that's what I'm most excited about.
And I can't wait to see how that goes. So you're talking, you guys pronounce it EPIC, right? EPOC,
Mm-hmm.
of course. Yep. Okay. For Push Press, you've got your hands in a lot. You wear a lot of hats. You're responsible for a lot of growth. But at the same time, excited about what's coming.
So from an actual like customer value, I'm excited for Grow, which is a new marketing platform that we just launched into beta last week. Jake
Yep.
Crandall is the head of product for that initiative. Super excited for that. I'm also excited just in general. It's even kind of to draw some parallels to the gym. It's a little bit of I don't want to call it a restructuring because that would be overdoing it, but like James took over marketing. He was someone who was running support for a long time for us. Took over marketing, so his full effort is on marketing. John Batdorf moving into actually expansion sales, and Zach Forrest helping with fulfillment of expansion products. It's just getting people that have these very prominent strengths that they're great at, aligned with where the business needs that talent,
Right.
is really going to be what allows us to take value, bring more value to our clients, deliver more to our clients, and do exactly what TJ said, which is allow them to service their local communities in a way that they can only envision, and that they're the ones who have that dream, right? So that's what I'm most excited about.
And I dig it. You guys bring a lot of both care or compassion as well as knowledge to the table. It's a powerhouse, and I'm glad that Nashville's not going to be that far away from you guys because I want to come and visit. I totally want to come.
8 hours.
Yeah, not bad at all. Rad. So if we were to use today's platform to speak to, and I say this, we've changed this question over the course of the last year because as we got into In the Trenches in the beginning, we were facing COVID and nobody knew what to expect. So we had a lot of front-end coaches and owners very uncertain about how they would be acting or in turn reacting to what states mandates or county mandates were going to be doing. And as we got through COVID, we got a chance like 6 months in, 7 months in, even 8 months in to look back and say, gosh, what would we do different if we open next week? Or what would it look like if? Now we're on the 1 year mark and we see that there are some states that are going to be fully open, ready to go, not, rock and roll. If you were to use today's platform to speak to other gym owners, maybe to encourage or maybe to motivate or maybe to inspire them to just keep going, would that be the message today? What message can you leave some of the audience with if they feel they're struggling, if they're burnt out, if they're uncertain? We get a lot of that on our chatter on the PushPress side of folks that are burnt out. Any bits of wisdom you guys could share today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and TJ knows my thoughts on this. Pretty much everything I do is purpose driven. If you started a gym because your purpose was to improve the health of your community, improve the lives of the individuals around you, what better opportunity than today? We've just been faced with a pandemic with regardless of what you believe or don't believe, it killed people. And it killed people for a number of reasons. It killed people because we have high chronic disease rates in this country. Again, if you're in this business, now's the time to serve. Now is the time to change the lives, because for whatever we've been doing in the US and even in other countries abroad, it hasn't worked, right? Like chronic disease is at an all-time high. So rethink your approach, but the world needs you. So wake up and get to work.
Outstanding. TJ, what do you think? Would you echo that or would you have something to add?
Nick, you laid that out eloquently and beautifully. I thought it was perfect.
He's like, you get a 10. Perfect 10.
Love it.
Outstanding. So on the flip side, Nick, you've got 2 kids?
2 kids, 7-year-old named Mila, my princess, and a 2-year-old named Xander, my little prince.
Right. TJ,
Baby Nick.
Right, exactly. TJ, you're about to bring a brand new one into this world in a month and a half-ish. No, yeah, almost 2 months, right? The end of April. Have you seen through your development as a business owner, this first is to Nick, and then TJ, I'll share it a different way with you. Have you seen your role as business owner, leader, entrepreneur, change or affect how you are as a father? Or does your role as father influence your role as owner?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's evolved a little bit. One of the I had a supervisor or a boss several years ago at that really poorly run company that I won't mention. That he told me, he's like, Nick, I won't be your boss for forever. Another year at most, and I'm done. I'm off the road. I'm going really, really hard now, so that when my kids are old enough to understand that daddy's gone, daddy won't have to be gone. And I've got a picture of my daughter, Mila, sitting on my suitcase before I was leaving for a work trip. And she had told me, Daddy, don't go. And I was like, all right, that's it. She's starting to notice. What are the wheels that we need to put into motion? And so a lot of what I do, again, going back to being purpose driven, it's I'm here for them. And that's sometimes easier said than done, because it's the gym pulls me, PushPress pulls me, and then Xander will come up when I'll be doing some work, and he'll grab my hand and he'll, Daddy, truck. It's not time for Daddy to, okay, close the laptop. It's time for Daddy to play with trucks, right? Like, family first. That's
Nick,
always it.
Nick fails to mention I was sitting on a suitcase too, and I didn't want him to go either.
I thought you'd be pulling on his leg saying, Daddy barbell, Daddy barbell. Right on. Awesome. Well, then my flip question to TJ then is the same thing, is understanding your roles and responsibilities at PushPress, and then understanding like the roles and the expectations that are placed upon you as the owner at the gym. Have you had enough foresight to kind of think through, I'm going to be needed someplace else now? And like, you've obviously talked that through with Nick, and he's kind of helped you through that process. You excited about that? Are you like thinking through like, man, this is going to be a totally different show for me?
Yeah, obviously we talked about me losing my father. And so there's a lot of things I felt like I was robbed of. And so, one of my, big goals is to be there for, all her milestones and little things that, I didn't have my father for. Yeah, I love working. I'm very driven. I love the grind, but, I don't want to miss those first steps. I don't want to miss the little things that, you can't get back. And so, I love that I've built kind of the opportunity to have a flexible schedule, and I'm just going to try to, grind my face off for her, but also I want to be there and experience every little milestone and every little detail. And I can't wait to be a dad, because, obviously I didn't get that.
Right on. Awesome. I think you've surrounded yourself with Nick, and I know you've got a bunch of great dads on the PushPress team. And so I just can't wait. I can't wait to see those pictures, and I can't wait to see your guys' smiles when that happens. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for the time today. I know we all have work to get back to go doing today, so thank you. Any last words? Any signing offs? Any quotes? Any bad dad jokes? I mean, I feel like we should send TJ a book of dad jokes.
It would be a disservice if I didn't say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback to ever play football.
Now in today's episode, that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate your time.
We
Likewise,
appreciate it.
Appreciate you and your time as well, Eric.
You got it.